Even as I finished the interview this morning at Nation House, Nation Center, leaving that place was a big achievement because young men came out and met me there and saying, Tunanja, they are unemployed, over 70% unemployment rate in our country. And yet, a country like South Korea gives 27% of their GDP to industries, because that's how you can create these jobs. In Kenya, we talk about a paltry 6, sometimes 7%. That's why even the few industries we have fled to Tanzania, have fled to Uganda, and the majority of our youths are unemployed. So, and I really admire the wisdom of Governor Malombe, real wisdom. I mean, unaona uzee na wisdom. So I must congratulate you. You have even given us, in a very polite way, your own way of seeing it. I think when we meet as principals and we have to do the next level of advisors, I think Malombe should be the chair. So 1 year, exactly 1 year, and today at the Nation House, they've started a countdown. Today, 365 and a quarter days to the next election. This judge in a court in Malindi, I think Justice Dande, issued some very earth-shaking judgment, and then she suspended it. But although she suspended it, unless it is vacated, that is a legal term, by a way of appeal, the current leadership of the country, all of you, from MCA to President Ruto, are what is called temporary incumbents. If it is Ruto, he can't appoint ambassadors, he can't even amend, he cannot change his cabinet because he will be acting contrary to the Constitution. So I advise him, free advice from my home ground in Kitui, but talking to the whole country. Move with speed, get the Attorney General to make the appeal. And that might also take time. Before the appeal is heard, Mr. Ruto, you are not only one term, but you are absolutely a temporary incumbent. You may want to say incumbent, but that's, I think, the correct way. But I think we have been so much together over the last 4 years and beyond that we know each other's thinking. So, Mheshimiwa Eugene atakuja ongeze ile kizungu mzuri sana ilisema pale. Mheshimiwa Attorney General, very difficult to write Justin's CV. There are dates that arrive quietly and pass unnoticed, and there are dates that announce themselves as thresholds, moments when a nation crosses from waiting into becoming. Today, the 10th of August 2026 is such a threshold. It is the day our election cycle formally opens. The day the clock begins a steady walk toward August 10, 2027. 365 and a quarter days remain. In fact, since midnight, the countdown is moving even faster. Let Ruto count them, as we shall count them, not with anxiety, but with the quiet gathering confidence of a people who know that their hour is near. That's why we say one time. I will not say Harambe, because we're in church still. For it is on days such as this that a nation is invited to pause, to take stock, and to ask honestly what has been sown and what shall be reaped. A season, for example, broken promises. Kenyans were promised a bottom-up economy. My brother Eugene becomes very eloquent on that would lift the carpenter, the mama mboga, and the boda rider. What has descended upon them instead is a heavier yoke. The Social Health Authority, call it SHA, and the Social Health Insurance Fund, SHIF, conjured to replace the National Hospital Insurance Fund have left our people stranded at hospital doors, paying more for less, dying in corridors that were once corridors of healing. This was not reform. It was a tax wearing the garment of compassion. Kenyans were promised an education system that would open doors rather than close them. Instead, our schools are staffed quietly for capitation. Our teachers wait long months for wages and our young people watch university funding transformed into a lottery. One that seems designed to punish a family for the crime of being poor. Wananchi are promised relief, and what has come is a cost of living that presses down on every household like a stone that will not lift. Unga, mafuta, transport, rent, all climb, while the wages of the ordinary Kenyan remain stagnant and even worse. You know, for example, the minimum wage is at 18,000 shillings, 18,047, and an average Kenyan family to feed itself every month requires between 15 and 25,000 shillings on food alone. Wananchi, a government that taxes hunger, cannot in honesty call itself the government of the people. Our young people in their multitudes remain without employment. Their talents idle, not for lack of will, but for lack of opportunity that this government pledged and has not delivered. When a vision fails, an administration of integrity corrects its course. The Ruto regime, instead of changing the name on the signboard, from Hustler Nation, the Hustler Nation became Bottom Up, Bottom Up became the Singapore Dream. Now we are asked to believe in a Vision 2060, as though changing the label might change what is served at the table. It was a lender example. You cannot rename your way out of a broken promise. 4 years of Rutopreneurship, a Ponzi scheme built on the backs of suffering Kenyans. And beyond the economy, we have watched with growing alarm the deliberate capture of the institutions of our Constitution, built to stand independent of any single hand. Parliament, meant to be the conscience of the Republic, has too often become an echo chamber. That's what it is. And when our children decided, our younger Kenyans, on the 25th of June, 2024, was it? When they decided to exercise, because the Constitution and Article 1, and this is the most important document that makes us even see today, freedom of worship, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly. When they decided that power, the sovereign power of the Republic is vested in the people, and the people can choose to exercise it either directly or through their elected representatives. So when the elected representatives failed to listen to them, people took it directly. That's why they went to serve this on the National Assembly. I thank Wiper Patriotic Front members for having stood on the side of the people and listened to the children. Of course, others will remember that historic day. They had to root. They have actually, Parliament has dug a tunnel. Wakapitia huko, wakakimbia. Wakawacha running away from their own children. The police and the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, DCI, meant to protect citizens, have turned against them. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, meant to guard the public purse, watches corruption flourish, while the corrupt walk free beneath its gaze. When the institutions meant to check power instead kneel before it, it is not merely a government that is compromised, it is occupation dressed in the language of governance. State capture, that's what we basically call it. And so, to Mr. William Ruto, President Ruto, we say this plainly. The only national conversation Kenyans shall have with you is at the ballot on August the 10th, 2027. There will be no handshake No nusu mkate. No nusu mkate. Count the days. The countdown has started one time. Let me talk about the people's budget and our 13-point answer. Kenya does not need another rebranding exercise. Kenya needs a government that remembers its word and keeps it. This is the spirit behind our 13-point agenda, the people's budget, a covenant, not a slogan. Number one, universal health care that works, not the SHA-SHIF fraud, but a system that guarantees every Kenyan dignity, even in illness. Number two, free and quality education from early childhood development, ECD. Governor Malombe, you've done your best in this area of ECD, to the university, with bursaries and scholarships for every deserving child. Number three, a living wage and dignified employment, reviving manufacturing, supporting agro-processing, and creating millions of new jobs for our youth. Number four, food security and subsidized agriculture, ensuring no Kenyan sleeps hungry while cartels hoard produce. And number five, tax justice, relieving the burden on the poor and making the wealthy pay their fair share. And then number six, constitutionalism and the rule of law, restoring the independence of parliament, the judiciary, the police, the DCI, the EACC, and all constitutional institutions. Can you imagine? Just because you're not in government, Wiper Patriotic members of parliament did not fall to the ignominy of having teachers recruited from State House. Yaani ukitaka walimu ajiriwe, and there are so many qualified teachers in this country, for example, who have been waiting on the long list to be employed. But for you to get a letter of appointment, some of them were issued, you remember, even during funerals. Nani anataka andiko mwalimu napatiwa. And you're derogating from the responsibility of a constitutional independent institution, one of the 7. Therefore, and I am very passionate about number 7, devolution and county empowerment, ensuring resources reach the people, not a few connected elites. When I was chairing that famous thing called bombers, you remember, we recommended that even under the present administration, Mr. William Ruto should have moved from 15% of share revenue to 20%. We are saying as United Alternative Government, now, not just in waiting, very few days away from now, that we'll raise this to 35% so that everybody now can see the meaning of devolution. Youth and women empowerment, real opportunities, not tokenism and empty rhetoric. Have we not seen the indignity of people who are suffering? Yeah, unaambiwa kina mama laini hapa, 100, 100, 100 men, 100, 100 youth, 100. What face are we giving to the future of our people? That you can actually steal from your people and then go bribing them, and you call it youth empowerment, you call it whatever, bribery in open daylight. Or even bribing watchmen. Watchmen were called to State House. And amazingly, I was mentioning this, my brothers here, Eugene, and I think you heard me say, those watchmen were given 3,000 to 5,000, but of concern, each of them given a mobile telephone. Ask yourself, what for? To begin to pre-rig the election. And even the village elders. But you know what those watchmen did? They went collected, those of them who support Mheshimiwa Sifuna and Linda Wananchi, wakakusanya 75,000, wakamwekea kwa siku. People, this is the Kalonzo moment. Who talked about the Kalonzo moment? I think it was Dr. Erin Kasada. This is what Kenyans, this is not going to be a normal election. This is a revolution. Where Kenyans are saying, this, we are not going to take anything other than justice for our country. We can talk about now at number 9, infrastructure and housing, decent shelter for every family, no cosmetic projects. We have said in my interview, some of these things should actually come to the county government. Those things which have come up under affordable housing, and the moment we do away with 1.5% housing tax, which is, by the way, from the gross, imagine, not even net, from the gross earnings of every Kenyan, even those who do not want houses, who are going to benefit. When we do that, we will now devolve this unit for the county governments can take charge. On social protection, a safety net for the elderly, the disabled, and the vulnerable. And on number 11, environment and climate justice, protecting our water towers and ancestral lands. When Governor Malombe gets time, was chair of the Water Towers Commission one time, we can share with you in those areas. Zero tolerance for corruption, no sacred cows, no political protection for thieves. And I call them what they are, thieves. National unity and reconciliation, healing the divisions of the past and forging one nation under justice. And you know, the Bible, even our Constitution says this is a nation under God. So we are doing the right thing. This is the covenant we offer the people of Kenya. It is a budget written in the language of those who have borne the heaviest burden of this regime's failures, not the language of those who imposed it. On the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission and the sanctity of the ballot, Your Grace, the Bishop and other bishops and lay leaders, let me speak with clarity. This moment demands. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, and amongst us, our principal is Justin Muturi, because we have to divide ourselves on who is going to do what. So whenever Justin Muturi speaks on IEBC, he speaks for all of us. Now hear us before he comes calling, because he will come. This IEBC is the constitutional overseer of the election before us, and it must conduct itself as one worthy of that trust, independent in fact, transparent in practice, and accountable to no authority but the Kenyan people themselves. In hand, the reaches to compromise that independence, the reaches in truth for the throat of the Republic. We say to IEBC Chairman Erastus and Dom Ethicon and your commission, guarantee this election free and fair on August the 10th, 2027. The referee must be impartial, or the people will have no faith in the game. Do you know the people of Bakalawa again, the IEBC at the lower levels, the presiding officers, the returning officers did their job. We have information that are being called from the headquarters, but they put off their telephones. We need to give a clap to those IEBC officials in our Kalonzo. I condemn without qualification, without exception, political violence in every form it takes, and from whichever quarter it comes. Our disagreements, however deep, must be settled at the ballot box, not in the streets where our children walk. Campaign finance must be conducted in the light, not the shadows. Kenyans have earned the right to know who finances their politics and why. An election purchased in darkness is an election stolen before a single vote is cast. And let no one mistake our patience for permission. There will be no manufactured crisis, no invented excuses, no threat, spoken or merely implied, to delay or deny this election its rightful date. The Constitution has spoken. We shall meet it precisely where it stands. The only national conversation we shall have is at the ballot. We repeat ourselves. A word of hope, because all is not lost. I do not pretend that these have been easy years, particularly for me, and even for my family at the personal level. I've sat with families, on the other hand, who count coins before they count their blessings, walk towards where the sick wait longer than they should, and listen to young people whose degrees have not yet found them any work, You talk about 5 years, 6 years, and the only little thing they can do is to even start a border business. Now, when Kibaki and us started, when they liberalized the spare parts and importation of borders, we did not intend it to remain a permanent feature of our country. But now, borders were at 50,000 shillings, now at 200. A Probox was going for about 300, now it's 1.7 million. Look at all this. Look at all this. I have sat too with families who have lost their children to Ruto's bullets and batons. I say Ruto's because the one who is sitting at the highest office. And the person sitting at the highest office bears the highest responsibility. I know, and I repeat that, because they have dared to exercise their constitutional right to protest. I know the weight you carry, but I ask you to hold fast to this. Hope, rightly understood, is not a feeling that arrives on its own. It is a decision people make together and then go about building with their own hands. And it's a matter of faith, as in the book of Hebrews at Bishop. The book of Hebrews defines faith. And so the warriors of faith, I think, is at Hebrews 11. And what is faith? It is a substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. Therefore, we must keep the faith and we must also keep the hope. The United Alternative Government in Waiting stands today as one movement, gathered under one conviction, ready to serve the moment the people call it forward. We are united in purpose, and we shall remain united in the long walk that lies ahead, all the way to the date already circled on our calendars, August the 10th, at about this time next year. For the next 365 days, we will mobilize, we will organize, we will build county by county, ward by ward, until this movement becomes unstoppable. 365 days from today, wazalendo wenzangu wa Kenya wenzangu, we shall shoot, and don't take me literally, because that is the order which has never been vacated by a sitting president, that you see our children shoot them on their legs, wapigwe risasi kwa miguu. That was an order that has never been rescinded or vacated. Now, on our part, we shall shoot Ruto at the ballot. It's a better way of shooting. It's a better way. Shoot him at the ballot. Together we shall komboa Kenya. God bless, and God bless Kenya. God help us. Tusaidie tukomboe nchi yetu.